Hello, everyone.
No,
Timói.
Nostalgia.
Що?
Nostalgia, né?
Ностальгія написано. Тут ж написано завдання.
Okay, I hope everyone can hear me very well. In the chat, can you please put a plus if you can hear me? Like this. Okay, we will wait maybe for 1 or 2 minutes for everyone to join, because I know there should be quite a few of us. So for some time, I muted you all just to make sure that everyone can hear me well. There will be a separate time at the end when you can ask any questions you want. For that, please use the chat. And also, we will work for around 30-35 minutes, and then I will ask you to rejoin the session so we are not suddenly interrupted by the end of the session. For those who see me for the first time, though I see some familiar names, it's very nice to see you. My name is Anna Basarab, and I'm CELTA and CELTES trainer. I'm also an international speaking examiner. I've been teaching for 10 years, and I've been teaching almost all levels and all age groups, from young learners to adults, and also I've prepared my students for various exams. And today I would like to share my experience, my colleagues' experience, and everything that I've learned so far, how to make our students' life easier when doing the exams, and how we can help our students, teach them how to make the task completion more sensible in a way. All right, so I suggest we start. Okay. So this is a little bit about me, and okay, so let's start with some general information. So what do we know about Cambridge exams in general? So there are lower main suite and upper main suite. To lower main suite, we have A2 key and for schools, B1 preliminary and B1 preliminary for schools. And the upper main suite consists of B2 first and first for schools, C1 advanced, and C2 proficiency. So let's look at the parts. So how many parts does each exam consist of? So the lower main suite, A2 key and key for schools, there are 3 parts. Reading and writing are combined. Listening and speaking are separate parts. B1 preliminary and preliminary for schools also has 3 parts, and the same as the previous ones. When we move to upper main suite, the parts are a little bit different. So we have reading and use of English, listening, writing, and speaking. So in total, there are 4 parts. And the same thing is for C1 advanced. and C2 proficiency. So let's look at the parts in more detail. Can you please take 2 minutes and decide for yourself which of these statements are true and which of them are false? Just 2 minutes, please. Okay, so I hope I fixed the hearing, the computer sound troubles. So let's look at them. Let's look at the answers now. So the first one, you always need to read the text first. It is advised by Cambridge. If you read the handbook for any of the exams, you will see that every task they advise to read the text first, at least skim it for general idea to orientate yourself or themselves in the text. All right. The word spotting skill can help you a lot and can help our students a lot when doing the tasks. We will look at this more closely, but in various exams, this is true. They do not appear in the order, so the questions. Okay. This is also false, and we will see that the clues may be not only before the gap, but also after. That's also false. You're not supposed, or our students are not supposed to know every single word. And that's, let's be honest, it's almost impossible because we never know what words Cambridge will use in their texts. And that's also false because Cambridge makes it very clear that one option is correct. So let's look at these in more detail. So if we're talking about the layout of the text, so you can see that the answers may appear, I'm sorry, not the answers, the questions appear before the text in this part 8, or the text may appear first and the answers are second. So these are for different exams. So it's advisable to skim the text for general idea in order to be able to find at least where they might find the answers when reading them. So as for the order of the questions and the answers, so you can see that the question in this example, question 43 has the answer to it below the answer to the question number 48. So our students should really know that and be ready to read the texts critically and find the correct answers in the right place. Okay. So as I mentioned, skills of skimming and scanning are very useful for the students because when they skim, they get the general idea of the text. They usually read it very fast, around a minute or so. And that will make it easier to find, when reading the questions, to at least to find the place where they should be looking for the particular answers. Scanning can help them when the question, for example, includes some geographical names, maybe numbers or dates, and the dates and these specific information will be also mentioned in the text. It will make it a bit easier for them to find the correct answer, or at least to find the place in the text where they should be looking for the correct answer. So word spotting technique. It is useful when preparing for answering the questions to underline the words that may help find the correct answer in the text. So for example, in this question, we have word discomfort that may help us in a way, and embarrassed that may also be helpful. But if you look, they also appear in the text. But the student should be very careful because the correct answer is actually C, not A. And these words that appear in the question, they can be, and they usually are, distractors. So our students should be warned that they should not rely on these words that appear both in the questions and in the text as the answers. So they should also look at these critically, as these words may mislead them, and they may eventually choose not the right answer. So as for working with gaps, so we've got an example here, and we can say that the main part that can help our students answer the question is at least a decade, this phrase. But if you look closer to the piece of text, so actually the word or another phrase that can help them answer this question is after the gap. So when they read, and they should pay attention to both a sentence before the gap and a sentence after the gap, because this is what happens very often, that the answer is related, or the missing sentence is related not only to the sentence before, but also the sentence after the gap, and it will help them a lot when finding the correct answer. So, as for knowing every word, this was taken from the B2 First Handbook, and students should be, or candidates should be asked to deduce the meaning of a phrase. And for C1, they should be able to deduce the meaning and interpret the text. So the students, they should develop the strategies, and we should help them develop the strategies of trying to understand or deduce the meaning of a word of a phrase just by using the means of the text that they have. Because, as I've mentioned before, it's impossible to know every single word in the text. And particularly in higher levels, it is what it's tested, being the ability of deducing the meaning from the words that they have. Okay. So let's move on to the next part, the part of use of English. Again, take a couple of minutes, look at the statements and decide if they are true or false. All right, so okay, so let's look at the answers now, one by one. So as it's advised, and I've mentioned this before, the students should read the text at least twice. Okay. We will also look at this because fixed expressions, they do work, but not all the time. This one is true. However, we will also comment on this. So this one is also true. There are 2 points awarded in this part, and we will see why. Okay, this one is false, and it will be also shown why. So, reading the text twice, it is always a good idea. First of all, when the students read the text, they need to fill in with either gaps in open clause or in multiple choice to get the general idea of the text. So when the students read the text, they can at least feel the notion, the attitude of the reader, if it has in some places positive or negative, if it's formal, informal, maybe how maybe it's neutral text. So as in the gapped text part, it's always important to read the gaps, the sentences not only before but also after, in order to make sure that the word that they filled in makes sense there. And the final part or step, let's say, it's a good idea to read the whole text one more time with the words they filled in order to make sure that it's correct, or they may just get the correct answer right while reading for the last time. before moving on. So, working with fixed expressions. Yes, it is a good idea, and we always recommend our students to learn the words with prepositions or as like units, single units. But here we would probably think that the one that we are usually used to, it's interested in. However, the answer is interested by. So it's good to know fixed expressions, but you should advise your students to look at the sentences critically and trying to look at various options they have. So to help them learn other options, they could use dictionaries, because dictionaries offer us all possible options. And as you may see here, we usually cite something someone is interested in. However, here it's just passive construction. So students should also know both, as it's use of English, that it's not only fixed expression, but it could be also tested the grammar itself as well. Okay, parts of speech. The students, they may know the parts of speech. However, they may know the names of parts of speech. However, if they don't, they should understand which part of speech is in the text, even if they don't know the name in English. So here, it looks like a verb. However, there is something before that, so automatically it doesn't mean that this is a verb. So it makes it a noun. So here you need to fill in with the verb. So knowing that the verb usually goes with a noun after it may help students understand what it's necessary to be filled in. So, reading the whole text for the word formation tasks. So, as I mentioned, so they can spot the positive or negative inflection. They can also get the overall idea and the connection of the text and the paragraphs, but not only the particular sentences, because as we know, the ideas are not connected only like sentence by sentence. The sentence at the end of the paragraph may refer or be connected to the sentence in the first part of the paragraph. So it's always a good idea to read the text in order to get the overall impression of it, in order to be able to fill in with the correct words. Okay, as for the sentence transformation, so there are 2 points awarded, and usually Cambridge separates them. So if you look at the answer, so if the students got one part of the transformation right, they will get half. If after the slash or the vertical part, they will also get the second point. There was someone who raised their hand. There will be special session, special part of the input where we can discuss the question. So if you have a question, just note it down and we will discuss it a bit later. Right, so using synonyms at C2 proficiency. So as you may see, the synonyms are not required here. The students should be able to manipulate with the words given. So they need to transform them into other parts or other words using the same root, but probably changing the part of speech. If the students use synonyms, they may change the meaning of the sentence, which will lead to losing points, as they have to use the particular words in the sentence. All right, so moving on to listening part. So one more time, can you please take some time, take a minute, and decide if these statements are true or false about the listening in Cambridge exams. All right, so I hope everyone had a chance to look at the statements here. So let's discuss, or let's look at them more closely. All right, so technically it's not tested. It is tested, I'm sorry. In a particular way, you will see what Cambridge handbooks say about this. The keywords and the ability of identifying the keywords will help your students a lot. Okay, yes, this one is false. I would say this one is partly true. You will also see in which exams. Right, and this one is also true. Now let's go, let's look at them one by one. So, so this one was taken from the handbook. So the sentences should be logically and grammatically completed. So if the student do not hear clearly the word, if it's singular or plural, so they need to read the gaps before or after in order to be able to fill in with the correct form. So the key words, this is essential, right, to underline the words that may help answering the questions, because the person, yes, what's mentioned in the listening. So First, what can help us with why the person is calling. So that's some sort of invitation, right? I wondered if you wanted to come. And here, the sentence or the part of the sentence that say, don't feel you have to come, will make it the be answer, because nobody here, we can see that the person is just inviting, not trying to confirm anything or persuade the receiver of the message. Okay, so I hope the issues with hearing me are resolved, because technically I can't allow or prevent you from listening to me. So it's on your computers where you can switch on the audio using the means of your computer. All right, so let's move on. So listening to similar words. So as like in the reading part, these are most popular distractors. So it is essential to find them in the questions, but also look at them critically, as they may be used in order to distract our students' attention from the correct answers. And the words that appear in the question and in the listening, they do not indicate the correct answer. So please advise your learners to look or listen to them very carefully, but taking them critically. As for the spelling, so correct spelling in part 2 of the listening paper is expected only at C1 and C2 proficiency levels. However, the words that were spelled, and usually they are spelled at A2 and B1 exams, if those words were misspelled, the learners will be penalized. So you should advise them to listen carefully if the speaker in the audio spells the words. In case they make mistake, they will lose points. So up to B2 level, yes, say B2 first, the candidates are not marked down in other parts. However, the words should be close to the ones that were mentioned in the listening. If they're completely different or they can't be recognized, the students will be marked down. So as for predicting skills, so when the students read the rubric and the questions that they will be listening to, it's a good idea to underline the keywords and also to get the general idea of what they will be hearing. So predict the possible answer of the speaker, predict the possible situation when the speaker is talking, because it will help them prove or disprove their guesses, and that makes it a bit easier when the students read the answers and choose from the possible answers the correct one. So again, so the vocabulary can be predicted, so it will help them a lot. Okay, so at this point, as we have only 4 minutes left of this session, I suggest we re-log in and we will continue with other parts. So please, for logging in, choose the same password and the same meeting ID. Okay, so can you please send a plus if you have the ID and the password. Okay, so yes, either thumbs up or something like that. Okay, sounds like so. Also, you've been sent, or like I think twice, this information, so you can also use then the login, find the login and password in your emails. Okay, so I'm ending the meeting, but I'm restarting it right now. Okay, so please rejoin.